What's going on, people? Back again with another episode. Back again with my boy, Eve in the building. Talking about the Champions League. Week two of the knockout stage is back, and we just wanted to kind of refresh on last week's conversation with PSG, Barcelona, and obviously we did have quite a busy week. A couple of players did step up in the likes of Mbappe, Haaland, even what's his name, Lukaku at Inter Milan. He did bits in the Milan derby. So just going to be touching on that today. So Eve, how you doing, man? How's life treating you?
Life's
And
treating me well, apart from being a Barcelona fan. That's treating me not well. I think the game from PSG, as I said, I told you it was going to be a blowout from Paris Saint-Germain. I think Paris oversold the game, being it what it is, and we saw it this weekend. They couldn't win versus Monaco. They were a terrible side. They were missing the midfield, which is exactly what I've said the entire time. The motivation is just wasn't as high as everybody expects. They beat Barcelona mainly because we're so bad. It's not
yeah,
because they're that strong. I think they're a good squad, but they're not that strong, and proves it that they're not winning their own championship. So
well, yeah,
Barcelona
because
have
was it
some
yesterday they were losing to
Monaco 2-0.
Monaco, right? Yeah, Monaco
Up
2-0.
2-0, yeah. I mean, to lose to Monaco, and funny enough, I don't know if you remember, but Bayern beat Tottenham like 6-2 or 8-2. I can't remember what it was. That was the same two coaches. Poch had Spurs, and Kovac had Bayern. Kovac is now
Oh
managing
wow.
Monaco, and Poch is managing Paris, and Kovac still got him, still knew how to better play. And it's very interesting how he managed to beat Poch again, knowing that Paris Saint-Germain have like Mbappe and so forth. So it's very interesting. They couldn't beat Monaco. It's quite impressive that they're a third or fourth now. So it's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. But you know what? Maybe that's I think what's his name is probably trying to get used to the French league, and Poch might be trying to get, but which is, you know what, if PSG can, I think right now their main priority is the Champions League. Like I'm sure PSG fans are probably, it's kind of worn out the whole, oh, what Champions of League on. They're probably okay to take a step back as long as they deliver in the Champions League.
I agree with you in terms of the Champions League being priority, but if you don't win at home, you end up being like Madrid, winning three times Champions League, not winning the Liga, and then being broke. It's not. It's no. Honestly, I think that if you want to be a complete team, you have to show it at home.
Yeah,
People tend to say Champions League has more importance. Yeah, it has importance. It's to show you're the best team in Europe. But if you're not a champion in your own prem or in your own league, what's the point? It's like every team can just focus on Champions League and be like 12th in the league. To be
yeah,
a real championship team, you have to win both, like Bayern. Bayern won six titles. That's what it should be. The best team wins it all. Um, Paris not winning at home just shows again they were cocky. They were, karma got to them. They were on cloud nine about Champions League, but they forget like we are a terrible side. We are not getting it together. We tied versus Cadiz. I mean, it's just to show you Barcelona is not doing well at all, and PSG need to be very careful about how they're winning the Prem at home or their own league because it's not going to be easy for them if they continue
yeah,
down the road. And it shows again, will they win the next team after Barcelona? Because Barcelona gets swept for sure. But if they meet Bayern, Liverpool, or any other team, like, are they going to win? I would argue not. They would have a
yeah,
really tough time. So it'll be very interesting. It was very interesting to see the game. As I suspected, it was going to be a blowout. The second game will be even further blowout. I really think it's going to be like 4-0 or 5-0. I wouldn't be surprised to see another major blowout. The difference with this time, with this second Barcelona showing up, is I think their mindset. The coaches are going to try to get a remontada, which probably most likely will. It's not most likely, will 100% not happen. But I
yeah,
think the new president coming in will automatically see how the coach is managing and how which player really needs to go because there will be a new president and by the time we play Paris again. So it'll be
yeah,
very interesting what the new president will take out of the match and see, okay, clearly Griezmann is not doing well, clearly Longley is not doing well, or clearly Coman can't manage this team. It's done. So I think the second game will be very interesting for us as fans because we're going to see a new presidency, what the result is after. What is he going to do after this game? Because it will be a terrible game for Barca again. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't think the president would make such drastic decisions. I think he might wait till the tie is over because that gives you a bit more window till the quarterfinals to implement
Maybe
changes.
Barcelona.
Yeah, at Barcelona.
I think the moment we lose to Paris, the new president is, well, for sure going to be thinking about the summer. He's going to say, okay, these players need to go or not. That's for number one. But I also think that he's going to have to strategically think, this coach has failed in Champions League already at such an early stage. Is it worth keeping him around or finding an interim coach?
Yeah,
Because when you lose Champions League, Messi's mind is going to be like, okay, this is it. I played my last game in Camp Nou. I'm going to need to leave. And the president's going to have to convince him. And maybe Messi and the rest of the team are going to be like, Koeman isn't the answer. Maybe it's time we get Xavi to do a Zidane, which is half season, bring in someone else. And just because if the president feels that we're not going to win the league, we're not going to win the cup, we're not going to win Champions League, all of the above, what's the point of keeping Koeman around? That's the real question that's going to ask themselves. Is it worth getting Xavi now to get his feet wet with the team instead of in the summer? Or is it we wait for Koeman and we give him the proper tools? But I think Barcelona, once the president comes along, that game will be the first indication of what the president's going to do. So it'll be interesting for us as fans because we know we're not going to win. There's no way we're coming back. No way.
back on that. Yeah, it's sad, especially you guys just lost that opportunity to close in on second place as well to this weekend. So yeah,
it shows again that the team took it hard to lose against Paris. I think they may have thought that they were going to at least give it a little bit of more of an engine versus Paris, but the defense was catastrophic. The decision to put PK, even though he hasn't played since November, was idiotic at best to say. I think when you see the midfield, I think they were lost. Griezmann being again absent, it's just not working for him. It's time after 4 years to cut our losses. And Dembele was, you can say everything you want about Dembele being the next star and he's 21 and he's young, etc. When I look at his stats, I really think that it's just not working out. So I would seriously consider looking at options. And then the rest of the team, Busquets, it's just not working as well. I think some of these guys really need to leave and let the young kids come along and maybe get out of contract players and see if we can do something. But I think Griezmann yesterday's game and Champions League showed that he's just not that guy for us.
Yeah, at the moment.
Stats don't lie. He's just not that guy for us. We can't wait forever, and we've given him three years already. Enough is enough.
Yeah. I'm getting worried, man. I'm getting worried for the French team because it seems like a lot of the French stars are not per se performing at their clubs.
Funny enough, I'm not worried about the French team because we have such a generation of additional players. If Griezmann is not the guy, then we have another guy that can come along, and that's what makes France so great. Is we have a great generation. What we need to do is make sure that Mbappe is the leader of that team. That maybe he belongs in a striker position and not on the wing, and he really needs to lead us. And maybe we don't give too much confidence to Pogba. Maybe we shift it around because there are more kids. There are more guys around. Maybe we don't just stick to the same four in the background. Like, I think Deschamps has a lot of options available, and that's why I'm not so worried about France as I am to say, okay, Griezmann had his time. Maybe it's time he's not the main guy on the team anymore. He's great, but maybe it's just not the time. Maybe it's time for him to be on the bench and another player comes along.
You know what? I think Griezmann would do well in PSG. I think that everyone talked about certain player like Messi going to PSG. I think Griezmann would be a better fit for that. It's because I think, like you said, maybe he's in the twilight of his career, right? He's at the point where he's still, don't get me wrong, he's still a top class player. It's just maybe now he needs to kind of start taking a step back. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I don't think he's completely done in football, but I don't see where else he would go to make a big impact.
I don't think he's done with football, and I think he's a great player. I just think he doesn't fit in the. He's not a player that adjusts to the system, and that's what he's not adjusting to Barcelona life. I don't think he would fit at Paris apart from being friends with Mbappe, unless they really step away from Neymar. I don't think Neymar, Griezmann, and Mbappe would work. I think Mbappe, Neymar, and another player would work, like Di Maria or something like that. Like Icardi, I think fits the gamble in terms of supporting the two. But if you have another star player that requires the ball, PSG is not going nowhere. And that's
Yeah.
the thing what people tend to see. They think that by implementing Messi, they're guaranteed to win. No, Messi will want the ball. And that's going to mean less time for Mbappe. And that's going to mean less time for Neymar. And that's not going to
Mm.
work. And I think
Yeah, that's
for
true.
Neymar, Messi, and Suarez, why it works so well is because Neymar wasn't just a star, it was Messi. And then Suarez wasn't a star, it was Messi. And Suarez took a step back. If I look at Liverpool and he came to Barcelona, everyone was like, oh, he wants the ball. He stepped back, he understood his role.
Yeah.
Neymar coming to Barcelona was up and coming to a next level, and he took the role to step back. And now he
Yeah.
wants the ball at Paris, and it's not working. He's not there during key moments. He gets injured every time in the same year. It's come to the point where I can't call that a top class player. I don't think any top class player would miss this many games in a crucial time. It's time to stop telling me that Neymar is a world class player, and Griezmann is the same thing. Contrary to the league, I think he would do well in Ligue 1 for sure. I don't think he fits for Paris. I actually think he fits better for like AC Milan, Juventus, and other teams.
Yeah.
Specifically Juventus, I actually think he would fit perfectly there. Older players tend to do really well there, and
And he
he's
lasts longer just because of their. I've heard some crazy stuff about Juve's, like from their diet. Their regimen is crazy and
I
how
really think Crazy
they
would do
plan
fantastic.
everything.
I think he would do great at Juventus. I honestly think that would be a prime destination for him, or even Inter Milan. I really think Serie A is where he belongs. That's what the next step. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Just kind of touching on that. What do you have to say about? Because I know last week you specifically said this is Mbappe's time to put his name in the history books to show that he's the main guy that we should be looking up to.
Yeah.
What can you say about that performance? Because that was crazy, man. Like it just happened so quick. I honestly can't stop thinking about the third goal, the one time like shot. Like that was just class. Like he could have controlled it and tried to chip the goalie, but the way he took it was just like I feel like that was a statement to the rest of the world. Like I
It
am.
was. But what amplified it is to show what Mbappe is ready. Mbappe saw Messi as I'm going to prove to the world that I'm better, and he did.
Yeah, because the
But
whole world is watching when Messi's playing, right?
but
So
but again, you have to look at two different worlds. I understand Paris are really proud of Mbappe, but you have to look at two dynamics. One, Messi is not at his best supporting cast versus Paris is. They took away Neymar, and Mbappe was better.
yeah,
So to me, what he showed to the world is he's ready for the next stage. He doesn't belong in Paris anymore. That's what it showed me. The goals he scored are exactly what I expect from Mbappe. Star level, legend level, and he's ready to go there. And playing Monaco and not winning against Monaco showed me that maybe he's not motivated in Ligue 1 anymore. And he's really motivated for the hype games. And that's where
yeah,
I think he really belongs in the Prem because week in, week out, he's going to be faced with, are you better than Salah? Are you better than Kane? Are you better
yeah,
than Rashford? And I think he thrives on it. And this game particularly, he thrived on the fact that, oh, I'm going to be better than every single player that was on the Barca level. But
yeah,
Barca were severely injured, severely crappy, terrible team, and that's why he performed. Now, did he perform as well as Barcelona were so bad? That's debatable. He performed. He showed some real class in the goals. Would those goals have gone in if Barca had a better defense? Questionable. And that's what I
yeah,
want to see. I would love for him to do that versus Bayern or Liverpool, where he failed to do it in the final and he failed to do it against Monaco. Barcelona are a seriously depleted team right now. Can he
yeah,
do it with Bayern? That's what I want to see. I want to see him do it this week in, week out. And he doesn't. He's not consistent. That's what worries me with Mbappe. And I look at
yeah,
Haaland and all this chat about Haaland. This guy thrives on the fact that Mbappe does well. Every time Mbappe does well, he shows even a better form. And he
form, yeah,
was so complete. even this weekend, I mean, he just knocked out some scorpion goals. I was like, wow, this he's ready to
Yeah,
be in
that
the
was
as
crazy.
well. And I don't think he needs to be in Dortmund. I think both players are in teams that are up and coming, that want to
Yeah,
get to that level, that haven't won Champions League and probably won't win for the next couple of years. And he's ready to go to the next level. I understand clubs are seriously depleted because of finances, but both of those players belong in the Prem. Really.
yeah, that's crazy, man. Somebody actually did put a post out, and it was a picture of what would the EPL be like if let's say United got Sancho, City got Messi, Haaland went to Chelsea, and what's it called? Mbappe went to Liverpool. That's crazy, man.
Well, what you would see would be Cristiano Ronaldo year of the Prem, right? You had all these star players, and then all of a sudden you had these up and coming player, Cristiano Ronaldo, that came out of nowhere, that
Yeah,
everybody was talking about, that was doing magical things. I think that's what you would see. You would
yeah.
see you would see some serious games, which used to be La Liga, right?
El
Um,
Clasico, right?
exactly. The Clásicos used to be the bread and butter of football. Whoever won that game was basically you put yourself on the map, and I really think that Haaland, as much as I like both players, I really think Haaland has a little bit more of a Barcelona DNA and Mbappe
Yeah.
has a Real Madrid DNA. And
Mm.
if both of those players can't join Barcelona and Real Madrid, which is the case because of finances, let them go to the Prem first and prove themselves.
Yeah. You know what? And that's the reality. I know everyone keeps saying, "Oh, the Prem is overrated. It's over this," but it looks like that's become the new La Liga for a lot of people because of the clout. There's the money. There's the endorsements. There is just everything that, as a player at a top level, it gives you the competition. It gives you the excitement as well, and the challenge every day to keep being better. So
Yeah, I mean, if I look at Cristiano Ronaldo's career, he went to Sporting, then he goes to Man U, and he's up and coming, and he destroys it, and he's ready to go to Real Madrid. Back then, that was the team to be on. If I
yeah,
look up in now and I say, okay, stay at Paris, Paris don't have that good of a team. Neymar's constantly injured. The midfield was really awful during the Barcelona game. If they had played Bayern or Liverpool, I'm not too sure they would have survived 2-3-0 because we almost scored two against them, and we're a terrible team.
yeah,
But what would have been the story if they were behind 2 or 3-0 by a top team like Bayern or Liverpool or Athletic Madrid? I'm not too sure we would have seen Paris at this level. And I look at Ireland and I'm like, okay, he's not going to win the Prem this year or the Bundesliga because it's definitely belonging to another team as usual. Do you
yeah,
really stay in Bundesliga this much longer? Same thing with Sancho. I think sooner or later these guys have to break out. The difficulty is the current COVID and finances environment. But to your point on the Prem being overrated, I think it was overrated during the La Liga best years. La Liga was, I
yeah,
think, 5, 6 years in a row where it was Europa and Champions League that were both Spanish teams. And I
yeah,
think what was difficult to accept for the British and majority of people that love the Prem, that the Prem was going through a slump. It was.
yeah.
It absolutely was, and you have to recognize that it wasn't the best league back then. You rarely saw a British team in the Champions League. They were suffering, and the Prem was always dominated by one team who had the most money. Now it's a real competition. I mean, you look at the top four, and you see that the top four aren't the necessary top four that we've seen. It just shows that Prem is really competing. You look at La
Yeah.
Liga, you're like, ugh, it's not looking good. And you look at Ligue 1, you're like, oh man, it's not looking good. The team that has the most money isn't winning. Something's wrong here.
Something. But honestly, Monaco, they've been building for a while though. Monaco, they've
They've
been.
been building for a while. They have a stellar team in terms of Ligue 1, but I wouldn't call if I look at the top teams and I see Liverpool versus Monaco, it would be a thrashing, regardless of how Liverpool tough is doing in the Prem. If I look
Yeah,
at Man U versus, let's just say, Lille, I'm almost 100% sure Man U would win that game 2 or 3-0. And it may sound cocky, but I don't think La Liga, Ligue 1 players are built to compete at a level that the Prem is competing. I think the
yeah,
Prem is built to compete with teams that are fighting tooth and nail for every single inch. And
yeah.
it's
Everyone, it's like you're fighting for relegation. You're fighting to stay up. You're fighting
that
for
when
everyone. Like like I always joke about it. It's like in the season of 38 games, I can't look at anyone and say, "Oh, that's going to be an easy game." It's
Exactly.
wild.
And I really thought this weekend's game was going to be easy. I was like, okay, West Ham, Tottenham can come back. Come on, terrible game.
Um, but West Ham, they're coached well, man. They're a good team
That's
still.
my point. That's my point. These teams that you think aren't that good come out of nowhere because they're really well coached, really well trained. Where the weakness of the team is, they analyze their team so well. You look at Everton versus Liverpool. I was thinking, okay, Liverpool in theory should win this game, and they
Yeah,
bottled. And you're thinking, good Lord, like, is Everton that good? Yeah, Everton is actually that good. They have a great coach. They have a fantastic coach. And Liverpool just missed the boat again. And I
yeah,
look at Champions League and I'm like, oh, Liverpool thrashed Leipzig, even though Leipzig is killing it in Bundesliga. They just aren't doing well in Champions League. And a team like Liverpool shouldn't be losing in Prem,
yeah,
but they are because it's tough. And then we see this week we have some stellar games, and we should be able to see, how La Liga again and the Prem is doing. If
yeah. What's his name? The French guy.
Benzema,
He's on ESPN FC. What's his name? He did say that actually. He was like, could this be a sign of the crisis that La Liga is going through, and the fact that in the Europa League, Spanish teams are getting slapped. In Champions League as well, Spanish teams are getting slapped. So, but the one thing I got to say, I think when we talk about young talents, on FIFA, I was like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of using United. So I was like, I want to try different leagues. So I started using Real Madrid, just because I was gonna use Barcelona, but they don't have the stadium, and I just hate that.
the rights
I
already.
love I love PES. I love playing PES, but I just can't get over the fact that they don't have the right jerseys, the right stadium. But in terms of tactical play, I'm a PES guy, man. I love how it's very tactical versus FIFA is just run and shoot. It's not much of a tactic. But anyways, not to digress. Um, yeah, I started using Real Madrid, and I realized like, holy cow, these teams, like even looking at Barcelona, you guys have a lot of young stars that haven't quite, they're are still trying to, they haven't quite gotten there yet. Because there is like the young generation now of like the Rashford age, whereby it's like that 23 to like 27. But there is still the younger generation that are behind the Haaland and the Mbappes, right?
Yeah.
So I looked at Real Madrid, I'm looking at the entire squad, I'm like, geez, these guys are all pretty good. They're just pretty young. That's all it is, right? So
Young
I
and
think you
old.
guys are just going
There's
through
a
that
there's an
phase.
imbalance. There's an imbalance at Real Madrid. You can see some of the players are too old, some of the players are too young. And I think
Exactly.
in
I
Barcelona,
think that's happening in Barcelona too.
yeah,
I could
some
argue Barcelona as well.
Busquets, PK, Messi. Well, Messi, you can't really call him old. Again, the conversation about the greats, Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, can never be compared to Mbappe and Haaland because they haven't proved themselves at all yet. They haven't won
Yeah,
anything. And that's why, as much as I respect both, they need to also respect the previous generation, which aren't done yet. I mean, Messi playing at his level, let's reevaluate Mbappe playing at his level and see if he has 6 golden balls. And then we can call him the great.
yeah,
But if I
that
look at
is
the
true.
current generation, and you are right, there is the Mbappe Haaland Rashford age, which is 21 to 23. They're ready to dominate. They're ready to take this league. And the older generation that's leaving. And that's the generation that we see from Barcelona, Real Madrid, even Bundesliga, like Lewandowski, Müller, etc. Those guys are slowly moving to a different age. And then you have one category under Fati, Rodrigo, etc. All those guys in Madrid or Barcelona, or even Laturo Sanchez, those guys that are like up and coming, that are ready to be on that level. It will take a couple of more years, maybe 1 to 2. The thing with Barcelona and Madrid that they have to somehow find is getting rid of the older guys that are no longer performing and actually having the guts to move away, and
Yeah,
maybe calling out other old players that are ready for now, like maybe playing 5, 6 games and letting these young guys play on a consistent basis. Because you see it from Mbappe and Haaland. If you're not starter, you're never going to learn from your mistakes. And I think Fati is a kid that he injured himself. That's a shame, etc. Dembele injured himself, but these guys need to start on a consistent level to be able to be the next generation, or else we'll never see them. Uh,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a very and for you, and you mentioned it right. For me on FIFA, I tend to take Spurs or teams that aren't really at the top and see how I can get back at the top. And of course, I play with Barcelona, but it's gotten so easy getting rid of the older generation in FIFA and just take.
I have so many young stars on my team.
Yeah,
Obviously, my core is still like the
exactly.
the
And I tend to
Modric's and Cruces, but yeah,
exactly. In FIFA and Barcelona, I tend to sell Griezmann. I actually sold Dembele. I felt that he wasn't the right player. I kept like Fati. I got an older striker, Aguero. I built a team the way that I saw can do something now, and then the magic comes later once I get my finances back up. With Spurs, I tend to look at the younger generation because they have a really good core. I went out and right away got Sancho. I was like,
yeah, oh yeah,
I need this kid on the right, and I bought a Depay as well. And I was like, okay, Depay is the guy I need right now.
yeah,
And then they have a good core. That was it. I got, I think, one other center back that was good for the core, and then you just roll with it because Son, Kane, those guys are still lethal. They have Ndombele, they have good, they have Hodberg, they have a really good squad. And if I look at teams like that, they can do damage if they get the right system in place. And as you said, we were really unfair, and I told you many times on Man U for not getting it in place because they had young guys ready to go, but just not getting this momentum right. And now they've got the momentum, and
yeah,
this is where it makes the difference. So in the Prem, it's very interesting.
yeah. You're right. Like honestly, yeah, it's an interesting one with Tottenham because as much as Mourinho could throw players under the bus, it's just 3 seasons ago Tottenham had I think the third most valuable squad in Europe. Like that season, they reached the finals and they got beat by Liverpool. Was I think yeah when you looked at just if you were to sell each player, so you look at Kane, you look at Son, even Ericsson at the time. If you were to Dele Alli, if you were to sell those players, they were like the third most like valued squad in all of Europe. So it's like, yeah, I know they're not as young as they were 3 years ago, but I feel there is still a lot of players in Tottenham that are
I think
performing way below par.
I think Tottenham is a fantastic team that is on the verge of being a great team. They need key guys to be able to take a break. It's not okay for Kane to be banging goals in and out. He needs to also take a step back and say, okay, I'm prone to ankle injuries and injuries. Maybe I should not play every single game. And you manage it just like the NBA. They manage their time. They don't play every single game. It's exhaustive. I think
Not
Son.
even banging goals. Not even banging goals. Like now, Mourinho has Kane creating. You know what I mean? Like now, Son is the one banging goals, and now Kane is
But
the one having to
that's
go deep to create.
but that's what I think the gem is for Mourinho, because I think people are covering Kane expecting that he's going to bang goals. But actually, Son is emerging and saying, no, no, I'm going to do it. That the thing is with Mourinho is that people think that he's a dinosaur and he's not doing it well. No, it's the Prem. I mean, if you think he's a dinosaur, what about Club? He has the best team and he's like fifth or sixth. Like, if I was going to fire someone early, it would be Club, not
Oh, jeez.
because Club has that team. There's no excuse besides injuries. If you look at the
Yeah.
injuries, I'm like, okay, let's wait. But if you keep dropping points, sooner or later you're gonna have to make that decision like Puch. How far can you drop before firing someone? Spurs are going through a rough patch of figuring out how they can combine as a team, because for a long time it was, oh, the excuse was Dele Alli, the excuse was Ndombele, the excuse was this. They're suffering from they're not playing collectively as good. And it's not Mourinho, it's them that's not clicking. And you see it on the team. Like Mourinho is yelling at the team saying, why didn't you pass? So I think his mentality is taking a step back and saying, okay, stop doing it your old fashioned way, which is banging goals the way you see fit. Build the team first. Defend when you need to defend, attack when you need to attack. And I think before it was Kane, Son, attack, the rest defend. And it wasn't working. They weren't the core. Poch brought them to what they thought was the best possible, and they couldn't make it. And then Poch just drop, exactly like Klopp. So the real question is, how far down can you go before you call it a crisis? And I think the Prem, in my view, any team that's top that drops below six, you need to have a thought about, are you going to fire the coach? And I think
Yeah.
Ole, Mourinho, whether it's Tuchel, whether it's Klopp, any team top level that drops under six, you need to start thinking about changing the coach.
Yeah. No, you definitely make a valid point there. Obviously, not every team is like Real Madrid, whereby you could win the Champions League, but you came third in La Liga and you're gone the next day, like Del Bosque and those guys. But but I think in England, everyone likes to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? And I think at the end of the day, Liverpool, they have one style of play, right? Is press, and then they rely heavily on their defenders. And now when you have to replace the entire back line, and then you have their forwards who I think are just exhausted. It's not so that's why I feel like Klopp still has a lot to do with not a lot, but he's done quite a lot already, the Champions League and now the league. So I think he's done pretty much anything that a coach would do at Liverpool, but I feel like he can still rebuild another team to keep Liverpool in the conversation for the next 10 years. Mourinho, for me, I feel like we're asking Mourinho to do things that we've never seen him do. Like, Mourinho is not someone who is going to just like take a team and build them up and then win stuff. Yeah, I know people say he did that at Porto. Yeah, great. But I feel like Mourinho's kind of person that he has a core and then he's going to spend money to fill in the gaps. But I feel like Tottenham, they're not spending money. They're still trying to pay off their new stadium. So it's like I feel like we're having so much faith in Mourinho in something that he's never shown us that he can do, which is rebuild a whole team without spending millions and millions of pounds on
I think
one
when he
player.
was at Inter, he sold Ibrahimovic to Barcelona and he got Eto. And he won Champions League with them. Why? Because they had a fantastic core and he was missing one player or two. I think
Yeah,
Spurs have a fantastic core, but they can't go out and spend, and that's the issue. I think if they could go out and spend, I'm guarantee you Sancho and Dipe or any other of those guys would be on the top of the list. Why? Because they're good now and they can get them. But Mourinho, I think, has always been a gem uh, coach. I just think he's misread. He sounds cocky in the press room, etc. He calls himself the special one. Yeah, that's to beef up his marketing image. But the realistic fact, he's a tactician. He's brilliant. The
yeah,
real problem with Mourinho is that he tends to lose the room quicker than he actually brings them together because he
yeah.
tends to get angry at players right off the bat because he's so direct. And again, you saw it in the Amazon documentary. What's shocking about it is he goes after two-star players and he says you're crap. And
Yeah.
you look at him, you're like, wow, he's really not ashamed to talk. Whether it's at Barcelona, I don't think anyone goes up to Messi and says, Messi, you were crap in this game. The coach wouldn't make it. And I think that's the
No,
thing with
not at all.
as much as I have respect for Poch, he hasn't won anything, not one single title. If he goes if he goes, Mbappe, you're terrible, I'm not too sure Poch would survive. I think Mbappe would like, I don't want to play for this coach. And that's
Oh
something
yeah, there's levels for sure. There is
yeah, I
levels.
don't think a coach can do that if you want to be a top player. And I think Kane is receptive to Mourinho. Son is receptive to Mourinho. Lloris is receptive to Mourinho. I think Ndombele is having a tough time adjusting. I think the Danish guy, Hodberg, is adapting to Mourinho. And that plays a role. If a team is not adapting to the coach, they won't listen to him. Some coaches
Yeah,
tend to be best friends, like Poch. Like Poch, he really wants to be the best friend, like the instead of the dad. Mourinho is the
yeah,
dad. He's the old school, respect me or get the hell out.
yeah. He is, and
And
I think
Klopp,
it's that
Klopp is the
that
best
style
man.
is kind of clashing with the new generation too, right?
Correct.
Because the new generation, they're not really about that old school, you
Exactly.
know,
And I
because
think
they believe in themselves.
exactly.
And
I think the old school generation mentality is where it lies. I think Bayern is key. And you see it. Bayern has more respect to coach. Don't dare say anything to the coach. If you do, you're
yeah,
going to be the next flight out. And it works. And I really
yeah,
think that's the key. And Pep runs his system the same thing. He's not a best friend. He's a coach. He's the dad. And it
yeah,
works. And I think the old mentality to instore fear in respecting your coach is more important. And I think Tuchel, Poch, Simone, they all want to be Simone. They all want to be like the best friends. And sometimes it doesn't work for teams. And I think Spurs are so used to the Poch approach of being your best friend. They're having a tough time adjusting to Mourinho. And Dele
yeah,
Ali is the perfect example. New age, everybody's talking about him. And Mourinho's like, we'll win without you. And he proved it.
yeah.
And now
Well, but
it's
now he's
popping
now he's
back up.
trying to get him back on the team though.
Yeah,
Now Dale, he's now slowly trying to
but
get
that's
back in, same with Bale.
But that's the
But
thing.
he's proved his
Overall,
point, right? That I'll bench you until you change that attitude.
exactly. And then now he's like, okay, we're losing. It's your time to shine. Show it.
Yeah.
If you
Which,
can,
and I have nothing against that, honestly. I have nothing against that because I feel sometimes these footballers are too entitled.
correct.
Sometimes they feel like, oh, my name is this, so I should be starting every week.
Yeah,
And,
and
you
and
know,
it goes against the cockiness of certain young players that they need to step back. And I understand. I mean, Ibrahimovic was super cocky. Cristiano Ronaldo was incredibly cocky. Van Nistelrooy was super cocky. There were players back then that were like telling old guys, You're crap, and I'm going to replace you." And I get that. It's part of the game. It's part of being a top athlete. But there's also a sense of respect also certain areas, because if you don't respect anyone or fear anyone, then you also don't really know how to play the game of football. And it
yeah,
goes, for me, the way I look at it, it's the same thing for NFL. Some of these players that are super cocky and tend to say I'm better than the organization tend to be the guy that doesn't play the next year.
yeah, like your Camp Newtons and stuff.
Exactly.
But,
So it'll
but
it'll
yeah, I think the extreme cases, obviously, like your Balotellis and stuff like that, that just had anger management issues.
yeah.
But other than that, I think it's nice to have that balance, right? But I think you also have to know how to communicate with people like that. Like you look at Ole's man management I think is good to an extent. Now we're beginning to see a little bit of flaws in that man management. But overall, you have to be able to play that balance, fine line between I'm a coach, you do what I say on the field, and you know, we're still going to be friends. We're still going to have that good relationship because I feel like the younger generation, they need that. They need that support. It's no longer just that iron fist, just, run out there. But just before we move on to Tuchel and Simeone, um, one of the guys on the friends on the call yesterday on the recording, he did make a good point about Mourinho. Is I think Mourinho right now, he's always been that person of as long as we don't drop points to the people around us, then we can kind of, beat whoever, then we can go out and beat whoever. But the reality now is we've kind of noticed at least in the EPL, is every coach is now pulling that same management, whereby it's nobody wants to drop points around teams, like teams around them. So because of that, everyone's plays so pragmatic. Like that's why I've even said it. I hate big games now. Like I literally hate big games in the EPL. Like Arsenal, Man City, United versus Manchester City. I hate those games now because it's just we don't want to drop points. That's literally all that game is
It's
now.
it's a good point and it's fair, but I also think that it's always been that way. I think Fergie, there were games where Fergie was incredibly boring to watch, and Wenger, there were games where it was incredibly boring to watch. I think it's again us being selfish that we see top players and we're expecting banging goals every single week, like top goals, like crazy goals. The realistic fact about the Prem is that you're more likely, and it's always been the case, you're more likely to see amazing goals from crappier teams
True.
because they need to win at all costs to bring
Yeah.
up. And the teams at the top tend to really start well, get to the top, and then they play defense to avoid dropping points. And
Yeah.
in many ways, that's how Barcelona and Real Madrid have operated for many years, is that they tend to get to the top really quick and avoid dropping points because Real Madrid is right behind. And Athletic Madrid has always been this team that's like fighting, 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 and you're seeing crazy goals, which is why Griezmann was so good, which is why
Yeah.
Felix is so good, which is why Suarez is so good. They don't have this mentality of just parking the bus versus the Prem. Parking the bus came from there. Like, you need to calm down for us points. And it's a valid point. Sometimes those big games are boring to watch. And I tend to watch, like, for example, Man U Everton or Liverpool Everton were much more entertaining than Man U Man City.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but I also think that's how football is built, and we have to respect it in many ways. But
You
to
know
your
what?
point,
You made a great point on that. You actually did make a great point in how sometimes it is tactical, but I'm just finding now that I think back then when it was like Arsenal, United, I feel like maybe it's been so long now that I can't really remember, but I feel like it when it mattered, they did that. Like so for example, whereby it was like neck to neck, 3 points separating them. We're close to the end of the season. Whoever wins this game is probably going to win the league. You know what I mean? But now it's like it could be the first game of the season. It could be middle of the season. There really isn't that much pressure on either team, and they just choose to, like the Manchester Derby, for example. I'm like, it's like Pep knew. He's like, I'm not gonna lose for the next 3 months. So you know what? I'm okay to just sit
But
there and go for the draw against United.
but
And
the
then
real
United did not take the advantage. And United still respected City so much. And it's like, Ola, you can see that City is not going for this. Go for it. We
yeah,
did the exact
I
same
agree with
thing.
you. But to get to the cheese, it's the prem. That's what it is. It's the money. It's the TV rights. It's the prem. That's what the holy grail is. So teams are going to pull this move all the time. What I realized this generation doesn't have is the anger and the grit. If I used to have a Derby game, I knew there was one guy that was going to get a red card or a yellow card for doing something to the other player. And I think VAR is a little bit more responsible for everything has to be in code, but there's missing a little bit of that anger in the game. And
Yeah.
if it was City Man U and it was Fergie's team, guaranteed someone would have thrown a punch
Yeah.
or
And,
attacked with 2 feet. You
oh
guarantee
man,
see that. And today it's
that's
more like
crazy.
yeah, it's more like I'll score a goal and then I'll go shake the hand of the opposite player, and you're like, that's not what I want to see. I want to see like fighting bull mentality. And what I really really liked about the Derby versus AC and Inter Milan, how being neck to neck, how Lukaku answered. As much as people want to say, he answered the perfect way. He was angry, he was furious, he fought like a bull, and that's what I wanted to see. I
Yeah,
wanted
that celebration was jokes too. What did he even say? He's like,
He said some stuff we
I'm the
can't,
man. He's like, I'm the man.
but he definitely said, I'm the man. And you know why? Because Ibrahimovic, being so cocky as he is, says, I'm the man. Prove something to me. And it fired a fuel in him that he just wanted to burst out. And the way he scored it with such anger, such determination, I was like, that's what I want to see from the Prem.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see from La Liga. La Liga, it's like, oh, penalty. Oh, red, yellow card. Oh, okay. Messi's going to score a goal. Oh, okay. It's all games right now seem to me extremely boring because I don't have this
Yeah.
fire. I don't have this passion. And if Fergie was on the sidelines and an old coach was on the sideline like Pep would have run the let's be calm down in Barcelona versus Mourinho was like, I don't care who you are, you're going to punch Messi, you're going to tackle Messi. As much as I don't condone violence on the players, what I want to see is this burst of passion and energy, and I haven't seen that in any team so far. It's really
Well, like the famous rivalry, right, between
yeah.
Arsenal United, the
What's
Patrick
what's a
Vieira
what's
versus
a
Roy
rivalry
Keane.
today? What is a real rivalry today? Like, yeah, besides
Yeah.
the teams, what is a real rivalry? Which two teams hate each other? I have a tough time seeing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Barcelona hates Paris because of what happened with Neymar. But honestly, we have so many problems. We don't really care about Paris. And
You got you've
Paris
got
was so
issues in your
focused on
backyard,
beating.
right?
Yeah, Paris
So
was so focused on beating us, and they were all happy about beating us. And I'm like, yeah, it sucked that we lost, but it's not like we care anymore because I think this is the furthest we can go. And Paris made such a big deal about it, and then loses to Monaco, and you're like, so all this was for nothing?
yeah.
Best team?
That's the frustrating part. And I think even with the El Clasico, it just feels like El Clasico used to be also that grit, you know what I mean? And I feel like now it's just a time for the young kids from Real Madrid to
Feels like
just be in awe that they're
Vegas.
playing against Messi. So rather than tackling Messi, like you said, pushing Messi, they're all like, you know how like everyone used to do that to Ronaldinho? Just always, everyone's just so
Yeah,
happy to that they're on the same pitch with Messi.
and I
And I
get it.
feel like that's kind of taken away from the competition.
And maybe it's us. Maybe it's us being old, and our generation is past its prime in terms of anger, and we need to move forward with things. But I did like the Paris versus Dortmund last year, where Paris answered in a way that Dortmund answered. Halal scored his famous goal of doing the yoga, and Paris answered right away by doing the yoga as well. A little bit of that energy and passion about hating each other on the field, but being respectful after, like maybe a day after, or 2 days after, it's fine. But the passion these days is really hard to find. And I look at the Prem games and I'm like, are you helping the opposite player get up? Like, who does
Yeah.
that? And
What was the last time you
yeah,
saw like a defender's shorts like dirty? I remember back in the day, like by
yeah,
halftime, they need a new jersey. They need a
yeah.
new jersey because,
And
first of
today
all,
it's
obviously the conditions of the field are different nowadays. It's not as muddy as it used to be, but
not it's
like
the
players will be bleeding. You know what I mean? Like I can never forget like Arsenal defenders like Ray Parlour, Martin Keown. Those guys were just always bleeding, man. I was like, are you guys playing rugby or are you playing soccer? And that's how it was back then.
I get it. We have to move away from the violence. But if I look at the NFL, for example, I think the NFL does pretty well job. They hate each other going into that field. But off the field, they shake hands and they move along. I'm fine with
Yeah.
that. But at least hate each other on the field. Do something. Like, don't just shake your hands and just say, "Oh, really nice goal. Thanks, Josh. Okay, cheers, bye." Even though you're for the Real Madrid or the opposite player, I'm like, dude, I would never do that.
Yeah.
Like, have some fire. I look at the South American teams, and I'm like, as much as they're playing terrible football, they really hate each other.
Oh yeah, they do.
Actually,
Like
quite
because those things are more of like that. It's like the whole like Real Madrid Barcelona rivalry, right? It goes beyond just the sport. It turns into religion, politics, culture. All that stuff just is thrown in the mix, which I don't agree with. I don't believe that,
it
like
should off the
it
field.
shouldn't be added to that. Yeah, but
But
it's just
if I look at Paris, Barcelona, I think that what Paris did to Barcelona in the stands was disrespectful. For example, Leonardo like celebrating in front of the Barca presidents. I think this is where you start seeing that it goes like the president should always they're in a position where they should be still, and that if they celebrate, they do it in a to turn around and flaunt and then lose to Monaco the next week just shows me that you're still a small club mentality, and that's not okay. But the passion between the players and the fighting, etc., and maybe having a little bit of beef, that's what you want to see because that's what fans thrive on. What
yeah.
I'm looking for is a marketing of we hate each other. This is the two best teams to play against each other. That's what I want to see. And then off the field, it's fine. Shake your hand, change jersey. I couldn't care less. President, shake the hand, be cordial. What I don't like today is the presidents going after each other. Oh, Barcelona paid too much, or Paris are doing something that's not within the FIFA playing ground. I'm like, I don't really care about that. What I want to see is beautiful football. I don't want to
Yeah.
see 11 on the pitch and defending all day. I want to see fire, burning, passion. And I'm not seeing
And
that from
that's what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm trying. Maybe that was what I was trying to say about the whole pragmatic approach. And it's not even about like I'm not saying that you should go like gung ho, just basically just leave your back exposed and go for the goal. I'm not talking about that. I just mean like sometimes you just literally see like teams come to play Man City, or it's just like you can tell from the first minute the whistle is blown that this team is not here to win. They're not even looking to even score a goal. They're just here to just
But to be fair,
not to lose. That's
I've
literally
seen
it.
that so many years in Barcelona. When Barcelona had MSN, they had Messi, Neymar, etc. There were teams like Malaga, Getafe, teams that could easily fight for it. They decided to park the bus because they didn't want to drop points and they didn't want to take 5-0 from Barcelona. And Barcelona scoring one goal and then it was tiki taka. A lot of tiki taka, 90% of the games were super boring to watch because it was just around the ball.
Spain in the World Cup, man. The
Yeah,
World
and
Cup, Spain won 7 goals in
yeah,
seven.
boring to watch. But then I see like for example, Brazil versus Germany, where Brazil got thrashed. Germany were going after it. They didn't.
Yeah,
Stop. And Brazil just were like they. I think Brazil literally thought that they were at the second half that the German team were going to stop. Well, no,
no, they just kept going.
the German team had one way, and it was to destroy this team. And sometimes I would like to see that.
Yeah. Oh man, don't remind me about that Spain, that '08 till like '07 till like 2012.
Some of these games,
That Spain era, which is basically Barcelona and a
yeah,
few guys from Real Madrid. That was literally it. But it was crazy, man. I remember like Spain hadn't lost for so long, and then I think it was Italy that cracked the code, and I'm just like, finally, you literally, and all Italy did was they just attacked because
yeah,
Spain has never really had like PK and Ramos. legends in the game, but I'm not gonna judge them for their defensive skills because defensively they're not the greatest, to be honest. Like
No, they're not.
PK, I don't think he would have survived in the EPL.
You have to. You have
I don't think
to.
he would have. And Sergio Ramos, he's just a G. You know what I mean? Like he's just one of those players that you want to have around you. You know what I mean? So,
Okay,
but he did a lot of things, but defensively, I don't think those two. I would rate them as like top 10 of all time.
the thing is, you have to look at the Spanish way of football. Spanish way of football is tactical. So I think they were built in a tactical world. So they're thinking
Yeah.
about passing, they're thinking about attacking. If I look at original G, and as much as I hate this player so much, it's Pepe. Like Pepe will go after you. He doesn't care if you've won 6 golden balls or 1 golden ball, or if you're Mbappe. If I put Pepe in front of Mbappe in his prime, Mbappe would cry.
Oh yeah, and Pepe was
Bulldog.
man, players were getting injured, man. Players were
He's
ending their
bulldog.
careers with him.
This guy was. You look at Ramos. Ramos learned a lot from Pepe, which is why he gathered this much hate. The thing what PK failed to do is learn what Puyol did. Puyol was a stellar defender. He would go all out for his team, but he was
Oh
also
yeah.
captain because he was respectful. I think PK started opening his mouth, being part of this new generation, instead of focusing on his game. And he's a great player, but as you said, I don't think I can rank him as a top defender, honestly.
Yeah.
I truly believe that Barcelona has had a top defender since Puyol.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
what I firmly believe.
it doesn't help you when you're dating Shakira, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Hey,
if anyone can date Shakira, it gives you all the confidence in the world, man.
yeah, I'm sure it does, but on the field, it doesn't translate that much. And what was another Paris friend? I was talking to a Paris friend over the weekend, and he was telling me exactly. He's like, I understand PK is used to winning, and he has that passion about winning, but the way he spoke to Grisi, like yelling at him on the pitch, just showed that the team isn't together. Grisi
Yeah.
is connected with the team, and PK is so used to winning, he doesn't understand why Grisi is walking. Messi walking is okay because he proves he can score goals. Grisi walking shouldn't happen. Grisi should be running 90% of the game. And PK, the moment that he stepped on the field, as much as he lacked, etc., I think he's a great role model and a great leader on the team. But I don't think he's that good in football anymore. I think it's really past his prime. But if he were to say assistant coach, I think he would be better.
Oh yeah.
I think he would be better as assistant coach to support and motivate the team because that's what they need. They need him to just yell at players like Zidane was. But
Yeah.
I don't think he belongs on the field anymore. I think as much he's past his prime and it's time to hang up the boots or be ready to go to another club. I think his off-field world has now interfered with his on-field world, and I don't think he's that passionate anymore.
And you know what? And it's tough though. Like you got to think about like PK was part of like one of the most successful teams in national squad and club career, right? Like he was basically the most successful team. Like no other team has won the World Cup, the Euro Cup, and then no, so they won. Wait, Spain won 1 World Cup and 2 Euros, right?
They won
with the same team, basically.
Same team. Whether it's France won a World Cup and a Euro back to back, and it wasn't easy for France to win that Euro. I remember it.
It's never, yeah.
But what I will say is that it's never a good time to hang up the boots, or never a good time to say, okay, I'm past my prime. The problem with Barcelona is they haven't had the guts to tell Piqué and Busquets it's time to go. And if those players are not okay to go, then put them on the bench. As Suarez said, he's like, I'm ready for the next generation to step up. Put me on the bench and I'll wait, but at least prove to me that these players can play. And I think Real Madrid have a Ramos issue on their hand, on top of Benzema, on top of the other guys that need to go as well. What are you going to do with Ramos? Are you going to give him a top contract? I wouldn't. I think he's now past his prime, and he really needs to start thinking maybe he should just, be happy with what he has or be on the bench. And if he's not willing to be on the bench or be, that guy, then he needs to leave and they need to think of someone else.
Yeah.
I also think Real Madrid should have never bought Varane. I don't think Varane is that good, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wasn't he like one of the top guys in I guess around the World Cup time he was like top defenders in the world.
Profile Real Madrid, honestly. I don't see him as being that guy. One player I think would fit really well with Real Madrid is Diaz. Ruben Diaz from City.
Mm-hmm.
I think fit really well with. But he was an expensive guy, so it is
Yeah,
what
honestly, I would say like David Alaba might be a good replacement for
Alaba
Sergio. It's that leadership.
he's past his prime. I think he would be a plug-in player, whether he goes to Barcelona or Real Madrid.
How
Or,
old is he though? Isn't it just like 28?
but he's not that good anymore. I think if I would go for a player, I would go for a player that's really amazing. The guy that's playing for the left back for Bayern is an amazing player, Davis.
Oh yeah, Davis, yeah, the Canadian
If I
kid.
would go for a guy, I would 100% go all in on him. Or there's a player that's not doing well in Serie A that needs a new surrounding is Delete. I think I would go out right away for Delete. There are
Yeah.
players that are out there that are not a fit for their teams that you can easily get instead of Alaba. The only reason people are getting Alaba because he's out of contract and people are out of
And
money.
he's proven, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
Well, he's
proven
proven at the top level based on like what he's
correct.
won and stuff
Would
like
he do
that.
it
So
again? It's debatable, right? It's
yeah.
tough. Guys
I
that
know
age.
people were saying, come to United, but to me, I'm kind of done with that whole just get somebody who is about to retire and then you're spending £300, £300,000 on them. I'm like, for what?
Exactly.
Like, we
I,
used to talk about Cavani.
yeah.
How the hell do you sell Lukaku and then you turn around and buy another Lukaku that's basically about to retire, and then you've spent. I think actually Cavani is earning way more than Lukaku earned at United. So it's kind of like, what was the point? So I hear you.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what happens, but I agree with you. I don't think giving up Lukaku was a stupid decision. I also think that getting Cavani was a plug-in for something they couldn't fix. Not getting Sancho is just to show that he's not motivated to come to Man U, which means that I don't think Sancho may have the Man U blood in him.
No, I
I,
think no, the Sancho one. I think that was more Dortmund. Dortmund was the one. Well, I don't even know. There is rumors that United never, the fax machine broke or whatever. But there's also
yeah,
rumors that Dortmund
yeah,
just didn't want to accept anything below the valuation
that's my
that they
point.
wanted.
If you're going to sell Lukaku, if and going after Sancho, I would sell Martial as well and get Sancho and then plug in a different play. I think there's a lot more to be done around that. And I think if you were serious about building, a next generation star, Rashford and Sancho would have been killing it. It's a missed opportunity, and I'm not too sure it's going to happen again. It could be another team snaps him up because it's just the opportunity. So I would be very surprised. And I think, for example, the rumors that we hear about Kane to Paris Saint-Germain doesn't make sense as well. Honestly, there are players that really don't need to leave; that just need to build a squad. I really think Rashford needs a
I
squad.
think Kane has to leave, man. I think Kane needs to leave Tottenham. I think Kane. I hear what you're saying. I think Kane is at that point now whereby he should not be part of another rebuild. Like I think he's been through so many rebuilds. I
Yeah.
think he's enough quality now that he should be walking into a team that is challenging for stuff. I think now that's where he
Team
should.
is challenging. What team is challenging?
No, but Tottenham is not even guaranteed to even make Europa next season. That's what I'm talking about. So what's
That's
the
because
point?
it's a top Premier League. I mean,
But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. So that's what I'm saying is I get your point. I get your point about the competition. But I mean, it's the same thing with Pogba is in the same scenario. There's a couple of players that are in that whereby they're hitting their prime at 28 years old. They don't want to still be in this. We'll go again next season. We'll try again next season. Not something that you're guaranteed to win
yeah.
anything, but you
If
want to be in Europe week in,
if
week
you
out.
want
Like
to
you want
if
to
you
be
want
in
to have
those.
if you want to have that mentality, then I would say Kane needs to go to Bayern and replace Lewandowski.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with. But
But
I don't.
Paris,
I don't believe him staying at Tottenham. I think that's just going to ruin his legacy because I don't think Tottenham, as much as
right,
we
and you
talk,
could be
like
right.
EPL is a whole different beast right now.
I think
I
that's
don't think see Tottenham doing anything for the next couple of seasons.
I agree with you, and I think that's his mentality. I think he has to figure out whether he wants to be part of that rebuild, which he's always used to, and he has a status, or he wants to go and take a chance somewhere else. I think Paris would be a waste of his talents because I don't think he
Yeah,
plays anywhere near where the tactical wise that Neymar and Mbappe play. Neymar is a very tactical guy that does dribbles and falls every 10 seconds. Mbappe is a guy that runs, and Kane isn't that fast, so he wouldn't fit that profile. He would probably bang goals in Ligue 1 because it wouldn't be that difficult. But if I would really say go challenge yourself, I 1000% would say
Go
Bayern.
to Munich, yeah. And you know what? I think if any big name is going to come to PSG, I think Mbappe has to leave, though.
Yeah,
I don't see another big name coming in with Mbappe staying there.
I
And
agree.
also, and I think Kane will clash a lot with Neymar,
Kane
just
would hate Neymar.
because.
I guarantee you
Yeah,
that.
I
Neymar,
can already see that.
Kane would hate the fact that he's dropping all the time. I mean, Kane even complains about Son dropping. Imagine Neymar. It would be a
Yeah,
completely different discussion, but it'll be interesting. If I had to make one choice as a coach at Bayern, it would be definitely replace that attacking role sooner than later, and maybe have two dynamic duos learn off each other for a year or two, and then Lewandowski decide to back off. Because as much as they're a great team, you see with Liverpool, sooner or later that great team is going to need to improve.
yeah,
And
exactly. No,
Paris,
I think he would be
Paris,
that perfect replacement for sure.
yeah. And I think Paris need to stop beating around the bush and actually build around Mbappe. Stop thinking that Neymar is the key. Stop thinking that you're going to get Messi. Build around Mbappe. Bringing Messi will not improve Mbappe. It'll make him worse because Messi will want the ball. And it's right. He's a 6-time Golden Ball winner. I would rather trust the ball with Messi at a key moment than Mbappe. And that's
To
the real.
anybody, yeah. I don't think
And
there's anybody in the world I would trust with the
exactly,
ball.
and
Not
it
even
would be a
Ronaldo.
real. Exactly. It would be a real waste for Mbappe. If I'm gonna go be a coach at Paris, get me a stellar midfielder, a stellar defender, and maybe a supporting winger. You're good to go.
Yeah. But you know what? Hopefully, it's kind of hard too, right? With COVID and everything that's going on, we can't even plan our lives. I can only imagine how these clubs are trying to figure out what football is going to look like in the next year. And I think a lot of teams are just going to wait it out for Euros to be over before they make any rash decisions because
Possibly, but I think
we've
a
been
lot.
burnt too many times, man, with this rash decision making, you know?
True. I also think a lot of teams will start things that we haven't seen before. Maybe watching games at a distance, being in the stadium like the NBA, where you can actually be in the stand. I think teams, if this goes on, teams are going to really have to be creative about how fans approach the subject or memberships, et cetera, to actually watch it in reality or stuff like that. I think there's going to be a lot of things that need to be done. So that'll be interesting. But I agree with you. I think there may be 2 or 3 teams that will be active, but the rest will status quo.
Yeah. I think technology is going to have a huge role to play, right, in the world of sports. Like
Yeah.
you said, maybe Facebook might have to do some virtual reality stuff whereby
They
you
do.
buy like a ticket
They
and
do.
then it feels like you're watching the game from your TV.
And I agree with you. And they do for the NBA. And I think it needs to happen for football. And it will happen for NFL. And it will happen for a lot of other things that absolutely need to have that digital approach. Because this is one epidemic. What's the next one? Teams are going
Yeah.
to really have to think strategically. And we'll see. But it'll be interesting how the market gets affected. But if I were to do a prediction about Mbappe, I think he's going to see his contract out. I think Real Madrid are going to hold and get old players. Barcelona are going to do the same thing, maybe try and fire sell 2 or 3 players. Bayern are probably going to hold because they just bought a player. Liverpool are definitely going to want to spend one main player for sure.
Yeah.
Spurs might go out and get a player or two. Man U, I don't think they're going to spend. City
No.
are going to do everything in their power to get Messi. That's for 100% sure.
Well, at least replace not necessarily Messi, but I think they're going to do everything to replace Aguero.
Yeah, replace Aguero. If you're going to replace Aguero, you're looking at Haaland. What are the top strikers available right now? I mean, maybe another
There
striker.
isn't that many though when you think about it.
Well, there's only 3 players I can think of. It's Haaland, Lautaro Martinez.
You know what's crazy though? You know what's crazy? Uh, Somebody actually brought this stat out, and you realize, everyone is really on, hating on Martial so much. But when you statistically, I'm not too big on stats because I think modern day football fans have kind of used stats and just gone with it to the point that it makes absolutely no sense. Like Chicharito, for example, would be the best player in the world if you brought his stats in today's football. Like, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes I think stats you have to use it in context.
I wouldn't
And
say the stats is
sorry.
against. Yeah, I think Martial is a good player and the stats are there, but I just don't think he fits for Man U. I think he would fit
No,
somewhere
I
else.
don't think no. I don't think he does. And I think like I've said it. I think he might leave the summer. The abuse he got yesterday on Twitter, he was trending again. Oh, Martial's crap, Martial's this, and it's just like you can't tell me somebody who scored 24 goals is all of a sudden crap. So for me, I just feel like this United team, it really doesn't work for anyone except for you just have to be like you would look at Rashford, for example. The reason why Rashford's bagging goals now is because he's selfish. Like Rashford doesn't pass. He gets the ball and either tries to dribble six people or do something with it. So I think Martial needs to either become that player, whereby when he gets the ball, he's just going to try to do it instead of always trying to pass. Because Martial's always looking to pass the ball.
Yeah.
And I think that's where he's stuck now because that's his kind of football. He likes to feed off people.
Yeah.
Like kind of like Greasy. Greasy likes to feed off people, but if nobody's feeding off him, then you're just kind of running in circles.
Exactly.
So
I think Man U will have to fire sell as well, and I'd be interested to see if Griezmann is compatible with Man U. That'd be another interesting aspect.
no, he's not. He's not because I think you know what I think because you even said it in the summer. You were like, because I used to talk about how Martial, why is Martial not even starting for the French team? But you said that because they're very similar players, him and Greasy. I think Greasy is a much better Martial.
I guarantee if you sell Martial and Greasy goes to Man U, Greasy would have a better impact at Martial. The reason for it, because Martial is on the wing versus Greasy will be a cam. And Rashford would get more support. Is Griezmann a great player? I don't think so. I think he's a good player.
But the cam, well, and you know what? And that's where it's funny, not to obviously, that's where it's funny. Everyone is now saying, you know what? How about we just make Bruno a false nine? Because he's supposed to be our cam, but he's not doing the job of the cam.
False nines don't work in the Prem. As much as I love that idea, Pep tried it. It doesn't work. False nines.
What I mean by false nine is just like maybe he should play number 9 because when you look at the heat map and like their positioning, Bruno is basically on top of Martial all the time. So sometimes you kind of look at it as like Martial doesn't have the space because Bruno is always next to him or ahead of him. I'm not saying it's not to justify him, but I just feel like not to make justifications for Martial, but I just feel like the whole the system is just like it's just we're getting the results. Everyone is all gassed, but I just feel like this is just too individual, man, and it's only going to take us so far, which is group stage of Champions League, the knockout round of tournaments. Because when you're playing the way we play, you're never gonna. Yeah, good teams will figure you out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because like
every equation is filled out for sure.
Yeah.
Later you have that turnaround, and to your point, I think Atletico Madrid will be interesting to see tomorrow if they can actually play versus the Prem and if they're ready to go to the next level because they're comfortable in La Liga. Let's see if they can do Champions League. I still think they're a great team in Champions League, and I would like to see them take that role. I think Tuchel is a bit too soon, but I could be wrong because the Prem is really tough at the moment. And then Benzema and Real Madrid, I think Real Madrid are going to suffer the same cause. They're going to be knocked out, like Barcelona.
Oh yeah, I don't see Real Madrid going far. I would say max. Well, they can beat it's the German team they're playing, right?
They're playing
yeah, so I'll say they can definitely. I think Real Madrid. I'll say max quarterfinals.
I actually think this is it for them. I think Atalanta are an interesting team.
Oh yes, Atalanta. Not I was thinking it was
City are playing a German team. City should sweep that team. I think Real Madrid are going to have a tough problem if Benzema doesn't play. I honestly don't know who's going to be their striker, and that's even more worrying.
Arsensio, maybe.
that's
Arsensio's been doing. What was he doing this weekend, man? This guy was. I always thought Rashford was playing.
The thing is, La Liga is weak, and all these two teams are going tough time. Real Madrid are starting to get a second, let's just say, wave of okay, we can do this. But if they start losing more players, they're going to be in the same boat as Barcelona, same boat as the rest. And losing Benzema, which technically is their key guy right now, would mean not good news for them in the Atalanta. I could be wrong, but I really think Atalanta can win this game 2-0, easy.
Yeah, and we got to give props, man. I think just watch. I think in the next couple of years, the Serie A is going to be back. I think
it all depends if the crap players from La Liga and Man U, and all the players that just don't fit in the Prem go to Serie A. If people
But
start
that's what's
saying,
happening
okay,
right now.
exactly, but if it continues, like if Griezmann goes to Juventus or whatever, and let's just say Ramos goes to Juventus or Ramos goes to Inter Milan instead of another team, I think those teams are going to get a serious second wave of we're back.
Yeah.
If those teams from La Liga and etc. end up going to the Prem, then Serie A will stay where it is, which is entertaining but not much more.
Yeah. But
So
I
it'll
think,
be
yeah, I think I want to see that. I wish we can just, obviously, there's been, as much as we say that likes of AC Milans and those guys have fallen, there's been new giants in Europe too. So we can act like that space hasn't been filled. But it would still be nice to kind of go back to that early 2000s, right? Whereby you had the Italian giants, you had, the Spanish giants, you had the English giants. I just miss that era. Now I just feel it's
I
two
do too.
leagues.
And it's
Yeah,
funny.
that's it.
I was telling my French friend, is like he was asking me what's one player you see at Paris that would make them a lethal factor, and I'm like, actually, Dybala.
Mm,
Dybala for me
yeah.
would be the perfect player. I think he's supporting Cristiano Ronaldo. He's key in key games. I think get him. I think that would be a player I would get versus Messi that wouldn't fit the profile. I think Man City would make sense for Messi. It's the next level. They're ready to win. He wants to win. It's now. Just
Yeah.
like Cristiano Ronaldo was like, okay, Juventus are ready now, but they never got their hands around how to use their team. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, you know what? Juve was just kind of, I think Juve was just panic buying. I think that's what Juve did. And they did a lot of trade deals, but I
They
think
did,
Juve was just panic. They were just too desperate to win the UCL. And they just,
and it
like,
imploded.
was it Ramsey?
Yeah, and
Ramsey, they paid like £400,000 a week for Ramsey. Are you kidding me?
but it was fire. It was a panic to win Champions League now. It was you got Cristiano Ronaldo, you need to win now, and they didn't. They failed to, and COVID hit and etc. It was a terrible time for them. So yeah,
Yeah.
man, it'll be interesting this week.
Yeah. But, anyways, man, it's been fun as always. That's crazy. Yeah. So you feel like Atletico Madrid definitely has a chance? I think
If
they
I
do,
was
even though Suarez is not quite on form. Well, he's still on form. I just feel like
Suarez is on
Atletico as a
form,
team, they've dropped a bit. They've dropped a couple of points.
they dropped a couple of
Yeah.
points. Make sure they give a couple of players rest, which is fair. And I told you what happened if they start putting their key guys at rest and they focus on Champions League. I really think Athletic Madrid can knock out or really cause Chelsea a problem. I could be wrong, but I see Athletic Madrid winning this one and showing that they're really La Liga leaders for a reason. I see Real Madrid losing 2-0. I see City
Yeah.
having a tough time in the first half, but then winning maybe 1 or 2-0, solidifying their position as they score a goal and then defending. And then
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes for the rest of the teams. But it'll be interesting Champions League, and I still go with Simone. I'm really confident he can win.
Yeah. I just feel like they just have more of a more experienced squad,
Yeah,
and a squad that has played together much longer than Chelsea, I feel. And
and I
you
think
know
by
what? I mean, Chucho might even say to himself, you know what? It might not. Obviously, he wants to win, but it won't be the end of. It won't be the worst thing in the world if Chelsea was to crash out, because now he can
for,
really
for him,
focus.
for him, it would be lethal. I think that would be the determining factor whether he's going to have a long-term project, because I think Chelsea need the money as much as they've spent under Lampard. They need that money, so they need to get to the quarterfinals at all costs. And I think Simone, having been in that position of being in the final and knows how to win, I think he has a better winning formula than Tuchel. I think
Yeah,
Tuchel is still trying to figure out his team versus Simone knows the damn team and he's first for a reason. Uh,
yeah.
Bayern, the last game before we go, I think Bayern will sweep this team 2 or 3
Oh
zero.
yeah.
It's
Lazio's. I'm not even
Lazio.
worried.
Lazio will test their defense because they're a team that attack, not defend. So it'll be interesting to see Bayern away in that stadium, in that kind of position where, okay, well, this team is attacking, they're not holding back. It'll be interesting whether we can see a top Bayern team, but we should see a top Bayern team, honestly.
Yeah, I think Bayern, they know how to absorb pressure, right? And I
Correct.
think that's what they did with PSG in the
Correct.
finals last
They know
season.
how to
Was
take a hit. It's almost like a boxer. They know how to hold back and hit the ring. They
Yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah,
where they
because they
strike.
defend as a team. They just defend as a team. They know when to go. They know they don't have the fastest guys up front, so
Yeah.
they
And
have
I
to
fully
play their way up. So they just kind of know how to control games, even though they make it seem like you're controlling the game, but they are controlling it. and they're just waiting for that moment where you let them you give them an opportunity and then they take it.
They
So
prove it time and time. Counterattack, they're lethal, and once they smell blood, then they start attacking even more. I think their tactic is always, let's see who has the first wound, and then we can really bust it open. It's like a boxer. It's very funny enough. Watching them is like watching a boxer.
yeah,
They wait, they wait, they wait. They go to the ring. They go to the ring. Let the guy tired himself out. Then they pounce, 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 pounce. Before you
yeah.
know it, you're looking at 8-2 like Barcelona. It is what it is.
Well, that's boxing, though. That's what they always say. Boxing is fought here. It's not fought with
Exactly.
your hand. It's fought
That
here.
mentality. They believed it since day one. So, and they believed it against Paris. Paris went all out, and they just held back. They took their time. They scored their goal, and then again, constructed as a team. So yeah. Anyways, it's been a pleasure,
Yeah,
man.
it's definitely been a pleasure too. But anyways, guys, it's definitely been fun. Yeah, we'll definitely be back probably next week. I think games next week as well for the Champions League.
I'm not too sure, but I know there's Prem games. That's for sure.
There's there's always a Prem game. But anyways, man, yeah, definitely nice talking to you, and we'll be in touch for sure.
All
Okay.
right.
All right. Take care, guys.